100 days ago, I took over as CEO of IGT Solutions. IGT Solutions is a customer experience, customer service firm. We were built 20 years ago within Interglobe. You get IGT, Interglobe, it all makes sense now. So we grew up in the travel and hospitality industry, and over the last 20 years, we've diversified to a number of other consumer-facing verticals. Consumer goods, high tech. We have 25,000 colleagues around the world, agents, if you will, in 30 locations. And when we think about our charter over the last 100 days, it really is to redefine the experience economy. And I think that's central to what I'll talk about today, because I will reiterate what I said last year on the stage. The hyper-focus on productivity, it's a distraction. We need to really think about the value that we're driving towards as organizations. And you heard a lot about that today. What makes us competitively differentiated? So I'm going to put another phrase out there, and I'm going to say it very intentionally so you don't think I just got it wrong. I think of this as our time for AI in the loop. We hear a lot about human in the loop. But I heard something today that, again, reinforced what I believe. This is our time with generative AI to unlock human potential and expertise in a very different way. It is AI in the loop, AI enabling us to unlock that expertise faster, as opposed to humans in the loop training AI to replace their jobs. With that as the backdrop, I'll talk a little bit through 4 topics. How did we decide where to disrupt ourselves as I came into this role? How do we think about expertise in the space of customer service and customer experience? Where's the technology today versus tomorrow? And very quickly, I'll touch on responsible AI because I think Shrikant and others did a great job there. So I've heard this talked about all day long, which is so many organizations have jumped into experimentation. What's the POC? How do we get there? How do we have a roadmap? And I would imagine for many of you, you felt the same pressure that I've seen in our customers and our clients, which is they are being pushed to build generative AI into their processes. And yet, if we widen the lens, we've heard today a number of reasons why it's not happening at scale in production. Of course, there's responsible AI, but there are basics, which are simply digitization of workflows, data. I don't have to recount what you've heard today, but I think if we widen that lens and step back, it allows us to focus on what someone put forward earlier, the big why. Why should we use technology? What is the business problem that we're solving? And I think this speaks very much to the BCG survey that was just released that said only 10% of organizations are AI mature. So rather than jumping to experimentation in generative AI, we need to step back and think about how we ready ourselves to be digital organizations, how we think about our operations as digital. And when I think about that, in a space like commerce, we can look and learn from it. Because there has been a benefit use case in commerce, especially accelerated through COVID, we've seen 20 to 60% of workloads and processes digitized. But then we come back to core operations, which is where I do a lot of my work, and we're at less than 20% digital penetration. And so we need to start there and really think end to end as to what are the big why, what are we solving for, and then how do we bring together the full technology stack, not just a generative AI use case. And that's where I think the potential resides. So as I had the opportunity to look at this business and really step back on customer experience, and if I put at the front, the big why for me, it's not average handle time. The big why for me, cost is always important. It's important in everything we do, but the big why for me is CSAT. It's about how do I get agents to be experts faster so that they can use human empathy. When CrowdStrike took all the airlines down, how angry were people? Had an agent ever experienced that before? They've experienced many multitudes of that. So how do we put them on those phones and make them ready and enabled to handle that sort of brand-changing event? I was exchanging some notes with a client of mine who leads AI for one of the largest tech travel platforms. And through that, I put this quote here, and I just love it. The unique opportunity that AI offers humanity is to push back against the process started by computerization, to extend the relevance, reach, and value of human expertise. And so again, if we think about human ingenuity and we think about how do we take a world where machine learning and AI can unlock all sorts of algorithms, we can create all sorts of best next action, but how do we use that to empower and how do we drive humans to accept and adopt that? And that really comes back to understanding what are we driving towards. And in my case, we're driving towards what is our biggest value, 25,000 agents and growing, and figuring out how we make them experts faster. And we've defined that their expertise is not their ability to quickly sort through a bunch of documents and find the policy that allows them to know what to offer you. You know, hey, you lost your bag, here's $50. That's fine, we can take care of that. Their expertise is to be the person that can help you through that moment and give you advice. So that's where I say from processors to advisors. I don't even say agents anymore. I don't say analysts because it sounds like we're actually analyzing something. To advisors, so that in that experience we're helping the end consumer, irrespective of the industry, to navigate what is inevitably a multifaceted and complex environment. So where did I start? 100 days ago, I came fully charged into the company and I said, this is going to be my #1 initiative. And the reason I chose it, and the reason I chose the spot that I chose, was when you have 25,000 agents, and for any of you who know the customer service space, your attrition is very high. Oftentimes, these are junior agents, they come in, and within 6 months, they realize just how hard it is to interact with all of us in our moment of need, and they burn out and they leave. Lo and behold, it actually takes us months to train these agents to get them on the phones and occupied. And by the way, as a provider, I bear a lot of that cost. Or if you're running contact centers within your own walls, you're bearing that cost. So just think of the people's supply chain here. We recruit, we bring in a whole bunch of agents, it takes us months to figure out if they're well fit for the job, and several months later they burn out. So my question was both from a financial perspective, a human perspective, and an expertise to customer satisfaction perspective, how could I change that equation? And so I went right after training, skilling. And I thought to myself, I stood here on the stage last year and I talked about skilling. I talked about teaching people to be prompt engineers. I actually want to turn that on its head. It's less about teaching people to interrogate AI. It's about AI coaching people to be better prepared for the multitude of simulations and scenarios that they will face. And so I'm really hoping that this will play in a minute. But imagine a world that I'm driving to where the average agent to reach expertise could be 16 to 20 months. And if I could reduce that to 5 to 10 months. Think about the life cycle impact of that the experience you're having as an end consumer is that much better. And by the way, from my own now prototypes that I've been running, the experience for the agent is that much better. They're not burning out as quickly. They actually feel more supported. Why? As I show you the simulation I'm going to show you, historically we trotted them into a classroom, we sat them down all together. We all know humans learn differently. Learning is individualized. That's what we're learning, right? Second, we have 3 scenarios, and we all know how this works. Role playing in the front of the classroom, the same 3 scenarios over and over again, and then you're given an assessment. And by the way, those scenarios have nothing to do with the real world, because one is, I lost my bag, one is, I need to book a ticket, one is, my flight was canceled. But when I call the call center, it's because like last Friday, my bag's lost, my flight's canceled, my kid is somewhere else, my dog, everything has just happened to me. And that's not how we train in this environment. So how do we train scenario development? We heard earlier, how do we have large language models use their creativity to come up with scenarios? And then use those in an infinite cycle to make sure that we're giving agents so many different scenarios that they actually objectively are able to then use their minds and their empathy as opposed to worrying about what the policy says. So with that, let me see if the demo will actually play.
Agent Assist Training Copilot is designed to improve production floor outcomes and ensure high-quality customer service from the moment agents are on the production floor. Trainers can leverage the Copilot to create interactive and real-world scenario-based assessments, challenging trainees to apply theoretical concepts to identify the best course of action. Let's look at the chat simulation. The Copilot simulates real-life conversations with a customer that agents encounter on the floor and acts like an AI trainer to provide real-time feedback and nudges, helping them improve engagement and resolve issues effectively. Agents can also train with voice simulations to prepare for live calls.
Hello, I am Emily Thompson, and I am currently facing a technical issue with the online change reservation system.
Hello, Emily. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused. What are the changes you want to make?
I need to change my departure date for flight number 123 from New York to Los Angeles.
Sure, I can make the change for you on my end.
Thank you, but I've been trying to make the change online, and the system keeps displaying an error message.
Yes, our website is down for maintenance. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused, but I've made the change on my end. You should get an email for the same as well.
Thank you for your understanding and for making the change for me. I appreciate it.
With the Agent Assist Copilot, trainers can create effective exercises for trainees to upskill and deliver exceptional customer experiences.
Okay, so imagine now you're an agent, you're brought in, you're no longer sitting in a classroom, you're going through individualized training, and there's hundreds and thousands, infinite numbers of these scenarios that can be created. And if you could see that on the screen, what's happening on the far side is we're actually giving them a real-time assessment, customer experience, accuracy, so that as they go through the simulation, not at the end of it, as they're going through, they're watching how their scores are moving. Our training teams are no longer standing in the front of the classroom. Our training teams are now walking and working with the AI coaches to understand after 3 or 4 simulations, where's an agent getting stuck? And the Agent Assist is able to actually provide real-time voice or text feedback to say, hey, here's a paragraph of what you might have done differently. Maybe you could have been more empathetic in your opening. Maybe you could have used the word, I understand. These seem like very small things, but we all know that expertise is built through coaching in the moment. Coaching after the fact matters very little. Static coaching doesn't work. And so for me in our business as customer experience, where again I have 25,000 plus people coming through our doors, this is the #1 competitive differentiator in that the ultimate value is better customer service on behalf of the brands that I serve and better employee experience for my agents so that I retain them longer. And through that, obviously, for my investors, there's a greater financial equation of being able to have higher trained agents who make our customers happier and who I don't see as much attrition from. So with that, I'll turn to, is the technology good enough? I don't know if any of you saw the Gartner survey that was circulating. Again, this could be for the CEO of a customer service firm, the best of times or the worst of times. And we obviously cherry pick our data, but I did actually empathize with the information that came through the recent Gartner survey that said 60% of consumers don't want to interact with an AI bot. And most of them are saying, 50% actually said in that survey, if they found out that's what they're talking to, they might actually leave that brand and go to another brand. Now, I think that's a challenge we have to address as an industry because I think there's really a role for AI and AI bots in the IVR to help us expedite getting end customers to be resolved. But it is a sentiment that still exists. And as I've talked to people in the room today, personally, some of you have expressed the same sentiment. The second thing is, AI bots, and we've heard this, they're actually outperforming chatbots. Generative AI bots are outperforming chatbots. So we will see a time when the technology and the consumer sentiment gets to a point where it can adopt this. But in the short term, at least for myself, as we plan our roadmap, we're thinking much more about, again, how can we use this technology to aid and augment our agents? And if we are putting this in front of the end consumer, how can we make it truly omni-channel? So that at any moment that human or that customer can escalate and move into a human agent seamlessly. And we're experimenting with a number of small, innovative plug-and-play startups in the plug-and-play ecosystem that are looking at this, where really we have an agent sitting behind the generative AI chatbot, monitoring everything that's happening and stepping in and taking over. So it's truly seamless. And I think that as we go through this roadmap in technology, we are going to see this accelerate, and we'll see adoption accelerate. But I think it is human and generative agent on a digital workflow as opposed to one or the other. I can't say much more than the experts today around responsible AI, except that obviously we're all thinking about it. And I agree very much with Shrikant that it's on us as an industry to adopt and really think about how we drive this. Where we've started, and one of my intentional choices was to start, as many of you talked about, in RAG, where there isn't a lot of data accessible. We're feeding specific documents from the LMS systems into our model, which is limiting, exposure. And we're choosing areas to work in where we don't have a significant issue with ethics or bias at this moment. But the fourth bullet on this slide speaks to capability. And I'm going to come full circle to this comment I made in the beginning, which is AI in the loop. So when I sat here again and I thought about AI a year ago, I thought about, it's all about making people AI experts. And I think most of us have understood a year later, what have I said here? It's about the CEO saying, this is one of my top 100-day initiatives. We are going to change. It's about having the patience and the courage to push through that change with respect to even mindsets around, well, of course everyone has to be trained in a classroom to know, but then most importantly, it's about having the people that are going to be aided actually interacting with the technology in a way that's not invasive, that's assisting them, that's helping them become better, that's seeing a better career path for them, and that's how we're focused on it at IGT Solutions. is empowering our agents to benefit from this technology, helping them understand that benefit, and then having them raise their hand and raise the flag when they actually think we're not doing it right, making them part of the process, as opposed to, I think, how a lot of people have felt, which is being left on the sideline historically. So with that, we did a really exciting thing, I think, this past week. We launched a partnership with an AI platform called Oxo.ai. So IGT Solutions has a long history in customer experience. We also have a significant data and digital practice. And now with Oxo.ai, we have an AI platform built on top of all of the hyperscalers. And our intention is to truly build the roadmap to transform from what I talked about today, which is my operating model end to end, and thinking about it as an AI-first operating model, to thinking about all the other use cases where we can start to assist and train large groups of people. And then from there, as the technology evolves, we'll continue to think through agent assist, as I talked about. And ultimately, I assume as an industry, we'll end up where we're actually interacting AI agent to customer. But again, I see that as a couple of years out, or at least 18 months out from where we are today. So with that, that's what I wanted to share about my 100 days and how I'm thinking about AI and generative AI in the space where truly one could sit with the glass half empty and say, you know, customer experience, we've all heard the hype, it'll be replaced with generative agents, to where I think actually this is changing the equation I saw a year ago on its head, to once again come back to the comment I made around generative AI igniting, like fire, human potential, which is generative AI truly igniting what I think is the future of customer experience, which is human empathy and human ingenuity. And so I'm really thrilled to be part of this and working at IGT Solutions as we build this out.